YouTube, if you follow my channel, you already know that I'm going to be showing you guys my universal hair cutting system, guys. This video is going to show you that it not only works on straight hair, on wavy hair, but it can also work on a curly hair texture just like this, guys. So if you've been looking for that hair cutting system that's going to make life in the barbershop easy, this video is going to be infinitely valuable to you guys. Make sure that whenever you do have a curly hair texture, you're going to comb the hair out just like this, because you want to make sure those hairs are already fully extended, so that way you can use your 1.5 guard to go down with the grain. Now, through this whole video, guys, like I said, it's a really easy to follow hair cutting system, but to make it even easier to follow, I'm going to show you guys the guards that I'll be using in the bottom right hand corner. So as you can see here, we're using this 1.5, it's going down with the grain. Now, if you're not familiar with what with the grain means, against the grain, essentially what we're talking about is if the hair were to grow forward, you're going to be cutting it forward. If it starts growing to the left, cut it left. If it's going to the right, you know, and you're just always going to be cutting it in the direction that the hair is naturally laying down. It's most beneficial to cut this texture of hair, especially when they're training their waves and they want their waves to come together and connect with the grain. Now, here's where my hair cutting system differs from the majority of other YouTubers, guys. I'm gonna strongly recommend that you do your bald line with the clipper all the way closed. A lot of YouTubers are gonna tell you to do the bald line with the trimmers, right? The same machines that you're using to edge up your clientele. But in my opinion, ever since I started doing it with the clipper, the hair fades out so much easier. If I put in a really harsh line with the trimmers, it punches that line in really hard and it becomes challenging to fade out at the end. Now you'll see as we continue to fade down why this is so much easier to do it this way, but you still get precise haircut results. And it's a similar reason why I like to set my secondary guideline in here with the half guard all the way closed. Some guys are going to tell you to go in with no guard all the way open, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, and you're going to notice this as we go through this fading system, it's easier for me to fade this line out going from plastic guard to plastic guard rather than going from plastic guard down to no guard at all. Right? Obviously, at some point, you're going to have to fade through that transition, but I find this guideline easier to fade if I set my half in. So now, look, we already did the no guard, we did our half guideline. Now, this is the longest guard that we're going to use here, guys. We're going to use the 1.5. And I take this 1.5 guard with the lever all the way open. I think that this is one of the most versatile guards to use, and that's why this haircutting system works so well. Because if I take this 1.5 with the lever open and I use the appropriate motions, floating my way up into the darkness at the very top of the hair, it helps me maintain the shape, but also the 1.5 guard kind of works with the gradients. This is where you can start working on that transition from where the hair is dark to where the hair is light. So that's why I started with it open, removed the bulk that I needed to, you know, and while still maintaining that darkness, but now I can close that lever and work just below that to be able to remove some of that darkness and start working on that transition. So you could see it really didn't take too much with the 1.5 guard. And now I'm returning back down to my half guard. This is the line, this is the guard that we used to put that initial line in, right? Remember, we set that first line in with the half closed, but I want to show you guys here how using this half guard with the lever all the way open and repeating that same motion, right, floating my way up into the next level, you can see how you really don't need to use the one guard. Like, you can skip guards at this point and really start working on this transition. So, you know, if you guys are going to be, you know, working on efficiency and you want to learn how to skip guards, keep that lever open and have a nice light pressure floating motion, right? Start with pressure at the bottom, but float your way up into the darkness that you just cut with the 1.5 guard closed. And after you feel like you've accomplished everything you can with the half guard all the way open, now you can little by little start closing the lever, bring it down halfway closed, and finish off with it all the way closed. So by the time that you work your way all the way down closed, you're gonna see kind of what I was talking about, how much easier it is to fade from guard to guard rather than from guard to blade. So notice here, like, by the time I have this all the way closed, guys, nothing blends easier into a half guard closed than a half guard closed, right? Watch this transition come together, guys, and let me know down below what you think about it, man. And if you guys have been curious about the tools that I use, like not only using my hair cutting system, but also using the same tools that I use for cutting hair, You know, the links are going to be in the description down below, even in the tagged products, right? If you guys have been interested in what this Tomb 45 clipper is all about, you know, I've been using it because if you know my system and my setup, I'm a big fan of just having one clipper, one trimmer, one shaver. And the most important thing about that kind of setup is you need to have a clipper that does not get hot, right? The blade cannot get hot if I'm going to be, you know, maximizing efficiency and just using one clipper all day. So those links are going to be down below. And if you guys have any more questions about that clipper and trimmer setup, man, you can definitely leave the questions down below. I respond to everything. So now here, guys, look, we started this guideline all the way at the bottom with the no guard at all, clipper all the way closed. So the easiest way to fade this out now is we're gonna return to that clipper all the way closed and little by little start notching our way open more and more and more. I used to have big anxiety about like, oh, I'm gonna accidentally push my fade way too high. But once I started understanding, like, you do have to accept, yes, your lines are gonna get higher, but at the same time, you're also gonna be getting longer and longer, right? So if I match it closed all the way at the very bottom, right? And let's say I break through that line and I push it up a little bit, cool. Let me open up one more notch, which means I'm gonna get a little bit longer, which means I can safely get a little bit higher. You know, hit that line a few more times. Now let's open up the notch one more time and go a little higher, and open it and go higher, and open it more and go higher. By the time that you get all the way to the top, like your clipper all the way open, right? It's gonna blend perfectly smoothly into the half guard closed that you set. You know what I mean? So like the haircutting system that I use, man, I teach it to you guys for a reason. It helped me so much with my efficiency. It helped me so much with my confidence going into every single haircut. It doesn't matter if I've never cut somebody's hair before. I can go into any stranger's haircut with full confidence if they want to fade, using these steps, using this system. And it sounds like you guys also have had, you know, that same confidence boost, those of you who have been following my system. So let me know what your thoughts are on this down below. Does it make sense watching it come together? And I mean, even, you know, the way that we're cutting this hair, it's pretty safe too, the system, because you can see my client was falling asleep the whole time. His head is bobbing and weaving, but I was still able to execute a perfectly, well, at least, you know, best of my ability, perfectly a blurry fade, you know. So let me know your thoughts down below, man. I hope this is helpful for you guys. Man, it's crazy how quick the channel has been able to grow. Like, I feel like it hasn't been super quick, but it's definitely been steady. Like, I feel like I just put my head down, I worked, and all of a sudden now we're about to hit 35,000 subscribers, man. It's pretty cool to see it all come together. So for real, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel, giving me feedback. You know, even those of you who have negative feedback, right? Like, it still helps me grow. It still helps me improve as a YouTuber, you know, just to understand what you guys better like. So thank you guys so much for that, man. So now we're here getting into the lineup, guys, and you know, especially when you have a fade like this, right? Like a good medium fade. It's not too high, it's not too low, it's floating right in the middle. If your client likes to have the C cup defined, I hope that this kind of shows you that it's not necessary to really over exaggerate, you know, the curves of the lines, or sometimes like dipping your fading lines like way lower in the front of the, you know, towards the front of the fade. You can have a very nice, very smooth, very consistent fade without really like leaving the hair too long along the edges. You just need to have a properly set trimmer and a good method, you know what I mean? So I hope that kind of helps, shows you like you could just fade regular, man. Keep your lines consistent, keep your lines straight. You don't have to curve your fade, you know, really warp the shape of the fade like that, you know, because it may look good too for that moment, but at the same time, when the hair starts to grow back, why would we want the hair on the edges to grow back faster and be like longer than the rest, you know? You got to think about the longevity of a haircut. I like to go ahead and set these two corners in, you know, especially if the client likes to have that defined look, and then we can go ahead and start attacking the front hairline, guys. The easiest way for me to go ahead and attack the front hairline is, instead of like starting all the way in the left corner and then pushing all the way to the right, and it's like one long, big, difficult job, I like to set it in the middle first, right? Let me start off with the widow's peak, so that way I can determine, does any widow's peak needs to be removed? You know, where's the baseline? Where's the foundation for this haircut? this edge. And then from there, I'm gonna go ahead and start working my way to one corner, right? Whether it's the left corner, whether it's the right corner. Some of you guys are gonna like working on the more recessed corner. Some of you are gonna like starting on the more full corner. Totally up to your preference, but whatever you do, break it up into 2 smaller jobs. So I'm starting in the middle and I'll work my way over to this corner here. And then you're gonna see me return back to the middle and start working on the other corner. So now, breaking this up into 2 smaller jobs, I can really start to balance it out, right? And make adjustments to make sure that the left side is flowing well with the right side. You know, like I said, I'm not perfect. I may not be the best edger in the world, right? I think there's definitely some on Instagram that may be doing it better and sharper than me, but you know, I'm efficient, my clients love it, and my schedule stays full. You know what I mean? So that's just what I want to show you guys, man. This is my best way of being able to run a good solid business here in the barbershop, man. You know, let me know down below what you guys think, or if you have a better approach to doing these, you know, these types of haircuts. Let me know, definitely. I'm always open to feedback and just, you know, different ways how to grow. So yeah, let's go ahead and get through the rest of this lineup. And now that you've got the trimmers in your hand, right, this is another part of that efficiency. I started the fade with the clipper all the way closed, so that way the balding out process can be that much easier. If you notice here, I've got this trimmer, and now, you know, I could go ahead and flip it over and start removing all the bulk that's left at the bottom. Personally, I know it may bother some of you. I've seen it in the comments, right? Leaving the bulk at the very bottom. Some people think that, oh, the barber's just being lazy, that it's messy, it's messing with my OCD. For me personally, the way that I look at it is setting in the lines and leaving this bulk for the very end. This really helps me concentrate my eyes just on the blend area from bald to dark. And I could really concentrate on making that as blurry as I can to my ability. There is no skill involved in removing the bulk, right? There's no finessing or, you know, once it's time to remove the bulk of the hair at the bottom, that's it. So I would rather just leave that for the end and focus all my efforts on the transition from the bald to medium to dark, right? So I hope that makes sense. Leave a comment down below if you disagree or if it does drive you nuts that I leave the bald at the very bottom. But like I said, I teach you guys what I do, and everything I do is for a reason. And it helps me with my efficiency, you know? So yeah, leave your thoughts down below on that. The last thing that we're gonna do, guys, is I wanted to show y'all how simple it can be to use the Turkish razor. You can see like how simple it is. You literally just have to slide the blade into place, you know? I think a lot of times people think that it's gonna be, you know, a time consuming thing to use the Turkish razor, and oh, it's just easier to pop it into the cartridge. I don't know, sometimes for me, the sliding cartridge actually takes longer. And for me, I'm a big fan of how the Tomb 45, not the triple cartridge, but the Turkish razor is just so much more slim. You know, it's got a nice weight to it because it's a metal design. But I don't know, it kind of helps me just cut straight to the chase. Like, it's very, very slim profile. That's what makes the Turkish razor so special, you know? But guys, make sure that while you're doing these lineups, man, if I'm gonna be, you're always gonna wanna keep the skin tight. And the way that you accomplish this, you could see here, like, let's say if I'm cutting upwards, that means I'm pulling the skin downwards. You know, you remember how, like when we were cutting the top of this hair, everything goes like with the grain or against the grain? It's almost like you want to pull the skin in the opposite direction that you're going to be gliding the blade into. So let's say if your client is reclined, you know, like leaning back, and you're looking at him at the angle that I have him right now. If I'm going to be gliding this blade towards me, I'm pulling the skin away from me at all times, right? You want to make sure that you do that because these razors are so sharp that your client may not even feel it, but skin can be sliced pretty easily. Notice here, I'm cutting down, so I'm pulling up, right? My thumb is at all times pulling the skin away from the direction that the blade is going to be cutting in. You just want to make sure that you keep that maximum tightness on the skin. And look, another perfect example here. The blade is coming towards me, so I'm pulling the skin away from me. And that's it when it comes to the razor, guys. Not everybody's gonna want it, not everybody's gonna need it, but you know, some clients definitely like to have that extra longevity, you know. So that's a little sneak peek at my filming setup, man. Guys, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. This is the finished product. Please let me know your thoughts down below. What other kind of haircuts you want to see? I just try to stream and film everything that I can, you know, while I can in the barbershop, and then when I have my free time, I come back, do the edits, do the voiceover to fully explain everything to you guys. So I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys on the next video, man. Look at that. I love it.